begin the 17th lecture on church history. Chapter 3: The Recent Age. The time period is from 1800 to today. 1. Introduction. Number 1. The spread of the gospel. The world has been scaled down due to the development of transportation. Every field has become a global field. The gospel has spread to the deepest inland regions and to the far-off islands. The prosperity of England states has facilitated the spreading of the gospel across the entire world. Number 2. Christianity's social activities. In Europe, commoners became more powerful due to the French Revolution. Industries developed and the gap between capitalists and laborers grew wider. On the other hand, the church began evangelizing people of the lower classes. Various social organizations were established and they improved society. Number 3. It was a time when science and philosophy greatly developed. A materialistic worldview was formed during this time. Furthermore, how to harmonize religion with science was a question to be answered. It also newly affected the study of theology. Various philosophical ideologies formed during this time. Number 4. There was a new theological flow. Key theologians are Schleiermacher, Ritschl, S.T. Coleridge, and Bushnell. Number 2. New flow in philosophy and literature. At the time when the French Revolution happened, the church could control public sentiment. However, entering the 19th century, new movements happened in the world of philosophy and the world of literature. Number 1. Literary people. There were literary people like J.J. Rousseau, J.W. von Goethe, and J.C. von Schiller. Number 2. Philosophers. Number 1. Immanuel Kant. Kant was born in 1724 and 04. He was born on April 22nd, 1724 in Königsberg, Germany. He was educated in this region. In 1755, he became an instructor at the University of Königsberg. In 1770, he became a professor. He spent his entire life in Königsberg, was celibate, and lived a regular lifestyle. We will take a look at his books. Critique of Pure Reason, 1781. Critique of Practical Reason, 1788. Of Judgment, 1790. Prolegomena, 1783. Anthropology, 1798. Let us look at his ideas. He pursued the freedom of meditation. He claimed that there must be knowledgeable criticism. A. Critique of Pure Reason. The book Critique of Pure Reason deals with epistemology and metaphysics. First, let us look at epistemology. In every cognition are elements supplied from the outside and by reason. There is no objective existence of time and space. It is only our subjective cognition of their existence. Our minds create the phenomenal world within this subjective form. Second is metaphysics. He said, man cannot know this with subjective knowledge and experience. Kant believed in agnosticism. B. Critique of Practical Reason. God is the fundamental premise of morality. He thought the God of Christianity is a being who makes man fulfill his moral obligation. He said, we cannot cognize Christianity's experience of spiritual mysticism or man's salvation. Number 2, Johann Gottfried von Herder. Herder was born in 1774 and died in 1803. He was Kant's disciple who studied philosophy, literature, and theology. He was influenced by Rousseau. Let us look at his ideas. He emphasized emotion, individualism. He said, the Bible is a book written by man for man. We must apply human methods when reading the Bible. His major work is Ideas for the Philosophy of History of Humanity. Number 3, Schleiermacher. Schleiermacher was born in 1768 and died in 1834. He was born in 1768 to a pastor of Breslau, Germany. He studied at the Barbie Seminary, but he quit before he finished. In 1884, he went to the University of Halle and studied Kant. Later, he became a professor who taught at the University of Halle and the University of Berlin. Let us look at his theology. His theology was a theology of religious experience. A. On religion. Religion belongs to the territory of emotion. Religion is based on the feelings of man, and it leads to a lifestyle of dependence on God. He counterposed religion to anthropology, giving more authoritative emotion than to objective revelation. B. The nature of religion. He saw the nature of Christianity as being Christ-centered. Faith is rooted in the experience of relying on God. Personal religious experience is more important than creed or the Bible. See Christology. He said Christ is the original form of humanity. He denied Jesus' divine nature. Here are his books. On Religion, 1799, Monologen, 100, and The Christian Faith, 1820. Number 4. Hegel. Hegel was born in 1770 and died in 1831. He was born in Stuttgart. He studied at the University of Tübingen. He worked as instructor at the University of Jena. He also worked as a newspaper writer, and he even served as headmaster of a high school. In 1816, he became a professor at Heidelberg. He later became a professor at the University of Berlin. Let us take a look at Hegel's ideas. He logically developed idealism and believed in pantheism. He based his idea on Schelling's world view and tried to systematize it. He equated logic to metaphysics. He thought reason and the absolute being were identical. He proposed 3 elements of the dialectic process. They are thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. The word thesis here speaks of the abstract, normal idea. Antithesis refers to an idea that is opposite to the former. Synthesis is a combination of the two, which generates a third idea. He said, existence lies where these 3 things are put together. His books include Phenomenology of Spirit, Introduction to the Philosophy of History, Philosophy of Religion, and Science of Logic. Number 5. David Friedrich Strauss. Strauss was born in 1808 and died in 1874. He studied at Lecture17, and he was heavily influenced by Schleiermacher and Hegel. He issued the book The Life of Jesus, which shocked many people. Let us look at the content of the book. It says, Jesus is a historical figure, but his miracles are a myth. In terms of historical value, out of the 4 Gospels, only the Gospel of Matthew has any value, while the Gospel of John has no value. Because Jesus' birth, resurrection, and ascension are in fact impossible, no historical value. Number 6. F.C. Baur. Baur was born in 1792 and died in 1860. He came from Tübingen, and he was influenced by Schleiermacher and Hegel. He criticized Christianity's history using the same methodology used by Strauss. Number 7. A. E. Biederman. Biederman was born in 1819 and died in 1885. He was a professor in Zurich and a critic. He separated the principle of salvation and personality. He said the atonement, resurrection, and ascension must be seen as a fact that goes beyond time. The weakness of the Hegel school was that it departed from the historical truth and only focused on the idea. Number 3. The Church of England before the Oxford movement. Number 1. Ideologies that dominated the Church of England. Ideologies that dominated the Church of England were from the Methodist Church, the Reformed Church, and the high liberal ideas of the French Revolution also dominated the Church of England. Number 2. Key figures of the time. Key figures of the time include Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Thomas Arnold, Whately, Hampden, and Hawkins. These people freely criticized traditional doctrine and religion. Number 4, the Oxford Movement. 1. The significance and beginnings of the Oxford Movement. The movement started in 1833 and lasted until 1841. It was called the Oxford Movement because it was a religious movement in which the University of Oxford played the leading role. We call this movement Tractarianism. Also, because of the election law of 1822 and the law of religious freedom of 1828, more people of the middle class were able to join Parliament. For this reason, the Reformed Church grew more powerful. In the High Church, in order to preserve its authority, initiated the Oxford Movement. The movement began on July 14, 1833, with John Keble's sermon called National Apostasy. Number 2, the purpose of the Oxford Movement. Number 1, to rescue the church from religious stagnation. Number 2, to develop a pure church. Number 3, to have a moral rearmament. Number 4, to keep doctrine and rules. Number 5, to inherit tradition. Number 3, key figures. Key figures include John Keble, Richard Hurrell Froude, and John Henry Newman. Number 4, the results of the Oxford Movement. Number 1, they stirred up piety in the Church of England. Number 2, they improved the soundness of music, art, and religious emotions. Number 3, they honored church sacraments. Conclusively, we can say that this movement was a return to Roman Catholicism. Many people who advocated the movement Roman Catholicism. This concludes the 17th lecture on church history. We have finished all the lectures on church history. I hope that you independently study and research more about church history. Thank you for all your hard work.